online. If everything is good to go.
Slide for me.
Okay, mine is not online yet, seems. Oh no, yes, mine online. There's only the publicity, the ads. Let me check. Oh, crap. Okay, yes. Okay. Okay. You down? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, buonasera. Benvenuti sul canale di Nestmind, dove oggi ho un qualcosa di molto speciale in programmazione. Qui sono con Mr. Trevi, ovvero Tactical Tortoise, e oggi parleremo di Warhammer 40.000, ovvero di io da game designer cercherò di fare l'analisi di Warhammer 40.000. Essendo un game designer, proverò ad analizzare come è stato strutturato ed evoluto il gioco a partire dalla scorsa edizione. And now for our English speakers, hi, I'm Nestmind. I'm extremely happy to be here, and I am going to work with Trevi, alias Tactical Tortoise, and I'm going to try to analyze Warhammer, the new edition of Warhammer 40,000, and trying to see how and why the designers could have made a certain decision regarding lore, regarding balance, and regarding the game in general, considering the new rules. My friend Trevi is going to bring the competitive aspect of the discussion and more of a practical look on how the rules have turned out after a bit of blade testing. So I say we could be ready to go. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so first of all, Space Marines. No, this is Tyranids. But the Space Marines. So, Space Marines.
Yeah, so I guess, do we want to cover the criteria that we're sort of rating everybody at?
Yes.
We're giving everybody a little bit of a power ranking on
of course,
these various parameters.
Of course. First thing first, let me fix again my streaming. Okay. So, first of all, this is the little chart I've made to evaluate the various armies and their gameplay. First of all, we have fluffiness, aka how much every army is adherent to the lore of the game. How much of the lore is represented in the game rules. Table coverage is very simple. How many models you field. How much of the table you can cover with your armies. How many models, how big models, how much is the actual presence of the army on the table. Ranged is how much the army is dependent, reliant, or how much the ranged firepower is important for the army. Same for the melee. Mobility is everything that deals with mobility, teleportation, high value in movement speed, everything that make your models move from point A to point B to point C to whatever. Shenanigans is for all the weird rules, weird interaction, everything that change or interfere with the actual rules of the game. Combo is for how much the various components of the army work in tandem and with each other to enhance each other. And versatility is simply how many play styles you can actually do with your army. Is obvious that pretty much every army could theoretically field every kind of strategy, but I'm pretty sure a full melee army is not going to be very that much playable. And
you get Farsight, and that's about it. And then you're done.
Not that
Maybe
much.
some creep.
And a full ranged corn army as well. I seriously doubt that would work that much. So within reasons, how many actual way of playing your army you have. So we have Space Marine to start. Our lovely guys in blue, red, pretty much our Super Sentai of the game. So, looking at the indexes, what is your standard opinion on Space Marine?
I think. Well, first of all, if we're starting with like sort of the fluffiness factor, I think they've kind of nailed it with Space Marines. It definitely feels like the way that the Gladius Strike Force works, in that it encompasses like the combat doctrines that Space Marines are adopting, but in less of a more of a tactical manner than they did in previous editions. Because in the past, right, you would progress through your doctrines and it was all kind of boring, and the army felt very like sort of inflexible, and that didn't really feel very Space Marine.
Yes,
but I think that the new way that you do them is that your army adopts certain doctrines based on the tactical situation feels very good.
Yes, I always thought the same of that too. It was weird that the army that pretty much almost more than anyone else was to be adaptable to every situation with a tactic for every situation was locked into have a progression of sort going from A to B. It was very weird.
Yeah, for sure. So I would definitely put them sort of above average fluffiness, definitely, like maybe a 7 or an 8.
Yeah, that at least. That at the very least. I would like to go to even a 9, because we also have to give us a little look at the various units and the stratagems, because in the new now I'm putting them on. These stratagems are, while powerful, they feel right. Here we already have a chance to adapt the doctrines, to work with doctrines, to change and to use more of one at the same time. Then we simply have extra rules that make them more focused on one tactical objective at a time.
For sure.
I believe the whole index and the rule of the Space Marines have been done very well. There is only one rule that give me that I don't truly like. It is the out of moment. On a general rule, I more than you select an enemy unit, and that unit has and all of your army gets full rerolls against that unit. That is pretty much a you now you die button.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And work extremely well with any kind of alpha strike.
Right.
Because again, drop pods, they can go down at turn 1. Every single model, every single unit does not have limitation in point for war gear. So every tactical squad is gonna have Melta, less cannon and missile. Every single unit is gonna have all the special weapon and everything else. And I believe this is while for the Space Marine the whole idea of the Alpha Strike could work, I believe this is a bit too much. I would have reworked it. I would have made something like a priority target. You declare a target. Against that target, you have +1 to wound and +1 to hit, maybe. And then when it dies, you can change it.
Yeah, so it like locks in.
Yes.
Instead of
every turn, you are sure that something dies.
Right.
Considering
I think the like name of the ability is kind of strange. Like, are they do they go through like a ritual every turn to be like, all right, everyone, swear your solemn vows to destroy that land raider with this one shot? And you're like,
yes, this especially considering the name sound more like a something that should be done by a unit.
Yeah.
The unit give the out of the moment, now you die, and that unit gets full rerolls against one target. This, I believe, could work better. Otherwise, it sounds like something the Space Wolf should have.
Right.
And little tangent, I believe the Space Wolf's army rules is amazing, but at this time.
Yeah, in terms of fluffiness, their detachment is great.
Yes.
I don't know so much about like sort of actual effectiveness. It's going to be a little bit tough, but I think the nice thing about Space Marines is that you can take any of the chapter abilities in the Gladius Strike Force, and so you can kind of play any of the chapters you want, kind of however you want. So I think that also helps.
It's very versatile. The Gladius Strike Force is extremely versatile and can work with every kind of chapter.
Yeah.
And the Divergent chapter have their own. The one that are extremely divergent, and you can very easily adapt one of them for your personalized chapter if need be.
For sure. Yeah.
As a whole, Space Marine look very good. And there are some units that you believe have something strange, something wrong, something strange that I can try to analyze.
Units in like specific units? I don't know if there's two. I mean, there's like some typos, but
that
I don't know if we need to dwell on that so much.
GV is a small indie company, so of course they.
Yeah, right. Of course, yeah.
So I like how they have changed the profiles for the Space Marines, giving the extra toughness.
I do
and
think
the
that
extra wounds on things like Terminators makes them even look tough heavy,
Right.
dangerous, very dangerous. The Gravis armor, it even reached T6, even if it has less wound than the Terminators. So you can feel the idea that is behind the Space Marines. We are the elite. We are the best. We go down and we face anything. Be by strategy, be by armor, we can face and survive anything. And I believe that the design, even for the all the rules that the various characters give to their unit, give an extreme amount of versatility.
Right.
You can you can directly tailor made an army for a specific foe if you know that specific foe ahead. And I believe pretty much everything in the Space Marine Codex doesn't truly need that much of analyzing, because it's extremely well made.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, let me change back to the.
If there was like one knock against at least the core Space Marine Index that I could level, I think it's that the epic hero characters, beyond like some of the the big ones, like there's Gilliman and Marnius Calgar and stuff, but the other ones, a lot of the non-Ultramarine chapter characters
Like
do feel like kind of samey.
And yes, the point is, on this we go on a little divergence in the lore. How is possible that after all this time, and I've started playing in the early 2000, so it's almost 15-20 years, that all of these characters, except Kavian Shrike, have not yet become chapter masters, or they have their respective armies have not yet released the chapter master with name.
Right, yeah.
Because in the name they have the characters, they are named, they interact in the lore. They're not the chapter master of the salamander that on Vulcan, that is on their planet far away, barely interacts. No. Vulcan talks constantly with him. They go on a mission with him. Agathon also interact with him. Why don't we have a model for him? Or why don't we simply let him die, and give all the salamander a new Terminator Vulcan Stan with the chapter master rules?
Right.
I believe as always, the Ultramarines eat better than the others.
Yeah.
But
I'd agree with that. I mean, definitely, like anytime you look at the special characters for Space Marine chapters, like Ultramarines are always
Ultramarines take
so
the
many
lion's share.
Yeah.
But I hope, even though I don't play Space Marines and I kindly hate them as a Tyranid player, especially those freaking intercessors, too many shots.
Yeah.
But I believe this is scary. I believe the epic heroes, while they are samey because they are all captains pretty much, because Thor Garadon is the captain of the new Primaris Recruit, right? Lysander is the captain of the first company. Pedro Cantor, is a chapter master, but Ferros is also, if I believe, a first company captain. Shrike was a captain. Vulcan also captain. They're all captains. Give us something different, you.
Yeah, and I think just looking at their profiles too, like a lot of them, almost all of them, I think, basically have the same top line stat block.
Vulcanistan,
and then
T4, 2 armor, 5 wounds.
Yeah, it's like the Salamander's guy's got 2+ armor, so good for them.
And this is a Primaris. This has 3 armor, because it's not Artificer.
Yeah.
Okay, but yes, basically they have all the same profile. The only thing that changed is the rules they gave to...
And even their weapons, like, to some extent, I mean, a lot of them are like strength 5 AP2 2 damage, like the sort of relic weapon profile.
Yes,
you know, the Spear of Vulcan's my favorite. It's like strength 6 AP2. Like, okay, cool.
Yes.
What a time.
Okay, he's stronger than average because he's a spear, so he has that little pip of AP extra.
Right.
But to be fair, it's 6 attacks.
Yeah.
He hurts. But it doesn't truly have... it doesn't have any kind of special rules. It doesn't have the lance rule.
Right.
It's a spear, and it doesn't have
despite being a lance,
rule.
like a literal lance, yeah. That would be good, actually. That would make it pretty sweet.
Yeah. Or even better, give a lance to his unit.
Right.
Because lance on assault
I think it is... just talking about the sort of the fluff, I think it is a missed opportunity for the chapters that aren't Ultramarines and don't have this like glut of characters to pick from.
Yeah.
That the special characters for the other chapters are you know, you're gonna take them if you're playing Salamanders because I think they are good, but they're not like transformative really. And so I kind of wish that they had, you know, even wilder special abilities, right? That would like really play, you know, make you play them in a way that is in line with how the faction operates. I think Vulcan's okay at that because he has his like rerolls for Melta weapons, so like you want to take Flamers and Meltas if you're playing him. But like Shrike is just like a dude, you know, like it's just a lone operative. Like he doesn't buff anyone. Like it's just a guy.
It gives a lone operative to his unit.
Yeah, but the units he joins like aren't. They're not that great. I think Shrike is unironically just better as a single model.
Yes.
Because he has lone operative, so you don't even want to put him in a unit.
It has a lone operative. It has a 12 movement. If you put in an assault squadron, is okay, but in a vanguard veteran, I believe they can slow him down. They also have a 12 movement. I don't remember.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so that is okay, but
that you can take him in the jump Vanguard veteran squads, but I think he doesn't actually buff their output, and that's the problem with Vanguard veterans.
The only
right
thing
they just
that
like a dude with lethal hits, basically.
Yeah.
So the only thing he does, you just want him to keep him by himself, and then like hold an objective or like go kill a character, which is, I mean, that's like fine. It sort of plays fluffy to how like a Raven Guard character would play, but it doesn't make your army play like Raven Guard, you know?
Yes.
And so I wish for these chapters that didn't have as many special characters that they would just like go harder into it.
This is pretty much the only truly good thing that Shrike give. The fact that the whole unit can deep strike every single turn.
Right. But that's his unit. Like, why? What if he did that to any unit on the battlefield? You know, what if he just constantly had your army going in and out of reserve?
Okay,
like that would be very Raven Guardy.
That would be very Raven Guardy, yes. But at that point, that will be too much, because every game doesn't really need to be perfectly balanced. But you have to give the players two things: reliability and agency. Agency is the option to choose. They must have the option to choose strategy, tactics. I do this or I do that, and this is good.
Right.
And the reliability. Give a player reliability. It means if I do this, I can expect this outcome. The problem is too much reliability, because too much reliability means that the opponent has no counterplay. and you have no chance of misplay. In this specific case, giving the whole army this ability, it gives the Raven Guard too much reliability, because any time you misplace your models, your units, you can simply move them away nearly instantly, because it's at the end of your opponent's turn. He have the chance to shoot, he have the chance even to charge, but you can simply play around this. If the whole army can simply depth strike anywhere, any turn, is impossible to play around with it. The second you move this little away from the table edge, you are surrounded. The first second you leave an objective unguarded for any reason, that's taken.
Sure.
That is,
I mean, that's
too much mobility.
Yeah, but just in the terms of, like, you know, sort of wanting to create an army that plays fluffily, right? I'm not saying necessarily that he should have exactly that ability verbatim, but I think that it would be cool if he allowed a Raven Guard army to play like Raven Guard.
I believe that for the Raven Guard, more than mobility or actually having units disappear from the battlefield or things like this, I believe they should have their own specific codex with specific rules, because they need a high value in shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
Because they, like the Alpha Legion, they need to interfere with the opponent in indirect ways. For example, a cool rule would be, I am setting up my reserves. No, they come next turn. One game ability for your chapter master, maybe, or a stratagem that costs like 3 points. Your opponent is setting up his reserves, you deny that.
Sure.
He has to do that the next turn. That could be interesting. But other than the lesser chapters, I believe the fluffiness is extremely well represented.
Yeah.
Now, table coverage. How many models and how many important models can you field? I've played very little with my own charts for army building, and I've played 0. So we have only the points from the indexes, and we need here the expert is you. How much you can actually field? How much you can cover the table?
I think a pretty reasonable amount. They're definitely not the most numerous army, but if you want to build in a way that takes a lot of models, you certainly can do that. I think like a Black Templar's list that takes a lot of. I actually have played a game recently, Advanced Them. It's on one of my channels. This Monday, I think, is when the VOD is going to go up. But yeah, basically you're able to take like tons of models. They have a lot of scouting models, and they have a lot of like infiltrating models. So they can play. If they want to, they can put like 80 or 100 infantry on the table, and they can make those infantry, start all over the place. So the amount of actual coverage, like literal coverage that they have, is pretty wide too. So I would put them probably above average for sure, like maybe a 5 or a 6.
Also, remember that this means also the imposing models. Not only not only a mere sea of infantry, but also big models that cover the imponent models, things like monoliths. And I believe
Yeah, they have less of that. I think the only like real super heavy. I mean, they have the Thunderhawk and the Astraeus. Neither of them are particularly exciting, though, to be honest.
not only super heavies, but even a Land Raider. A Land Raider
Mm-hmm.
is big, is imposing. You see it, and you see something that should be pretty much immovable. That is what I mean with table coverage. A single
Okay.
Land Raider covers a lot of the table by the
Mm-hmm.
simply presence, the simple how much scary it can be, even if only for delivering assault terminators.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, I think. I
think
mean, they can play a decent number of those, but those models are still very expensive, and especially if you're talking about transports that also embark units.
yes, I
Uh,
would say
um,
a 6.
you get one or two of those
I would say a
modules
6
maybe, and then
out
that's
of
about it.
10 because it's still an elite army, but what they have is scary.
Yep.
Also, I have seen a few review, and they say that stuff like maybe the Land Raider is not that tanky as it should be. Do you had have you had the chance to try something like these big vehicles with high toughness and armor, and see if they are actually that scary and tanky as they appear? Because I'm searching it now on the index.
Yeah. Yeah. They're anything
Toughness,
with a 2+ save is
yeah.
immediately like fairly resilient. They're definitely not these unkillable bricks. Basically, they a concerted effort for most armies will kill them.
Well,
So
that
if you're coming into 10th edition being like, well, they say everyone said it's less lethal, and Land Raider looks really tanky, and expecting it to like survive everything, it will probably still die.
well, that yes, a concerted effort should be able to kill everything. Otherwise, the game will be wildly unbalanced. But T12 are 2 plus armor and 16 wounds look like the kind of profile that just a concentrated effort should bring down.
Yeah, it depends on what you're up against. I mean, there are some, especially now that the Forge World indexes are out. Like, there are some packages that can like really just tear through heavy armor like that. I haven't played a Land Raider specifically. I have played like 2+ save 16 wound models. And Tyranids is just mostly what I play. I play a lot of Tyrannifexes, and they're even tougher to kill than a Land Raider. And they would stick around for a while, but most of the time they would end up getting knocked down. So I would say that they're reasonably difficult to kill, but they're not super tough.
Reasonably is is the point. If they are reasonably difficult to kill, reasonably easy to kill from the opponent, then is balanced. Because you can put it on the table and expect it to survive at least a bit, to do actually what it has to do, while the opponent can expect to actually kill the damn thing sooner or later. Especially if
Thomas,
he has
Eldari
a
will
lot
laugh at your
of-
Land Raider. They'll just get rid of that thing.
Yes.
They have some mortal wounds, but hopefully that won't stick around forever. Cross my fingers.
No, I haven't seen an Eldar game, but they look scary.
Yeah.
I've seen
we'll talk about them when we get there.
Yes. I've seen one game with Dark Eldar, and they are Space Marine on steroids. They are terrifying. But at that point. So, next point. Now, this is going slow because it's Space Marines. They have all the choices in the world, so pretty much everything here is going to be, I believe, at least a 5. The future armies, I hope they're gonna be faster to review. So, ranged. I would say a 7 at least.
Yeah, I would put them even as far up as like an 8 or a 9. I think I mean, O's Moment, they already have pretty decent profiles already, and then O's Moment just like pushes it even heavier.
Yeah, I believe that
They
too.
have probably, I don't know if they would have like the most numerous or the most powerful artillery, but they're probably the most consistent artillery in terms of just the weapons with indirect fire. And then, just being able to point full rerolls at whatever they want and potentially do that twice a turn just makes them incredibly good at shooting.
Yes, that is terrifying. Melee, I will say pretty high, while less, I would say a 6 or a 7, just because the assault terminators are going to simply delete everything they touch, and they are impossible to kill.
I would honestly put them at maybe a 5. I think Space
Really?
Marine Melee was already, even in 9th edition was kind of mid, and it got significantly worse in 10th edition.
Oh, really?
Really, like, their melee is there to clean up for their guns. Everything in the faction is okay at melee. Like, they all have 3 or 4 attacks, and some of the sergeants have thunderhammers and stuff like that.
The melee
And then they
units
have
do
very
melee, but
concentrated
they are
melee
not,
units like aggressors. And in some factions like Blood Angels or Black Templars, the whole army is going to be very
yes.
good at melee.
But they are divergent.
Right. You have to really focus. You only have 1 or 2 units in a normal list that's like focused on melee. And if you want your army to be good at melee, you have to be incredibly focused on it. Whereas ranged attacks, you can just put, Desolation Marines and Vindicators and Gladius Lancers in any list, and they're already going to be pretty
And
good
say bye-bye
at
to your
shooting.
opponent.
Yeah.
Also, because the range is so good, this makes, for all the armies with an extremely good range, this give a balancing nightmare and design nightmare. Because ranged is without response. You shoot, you kill. The opponent
Right.
has no ways to interrupt you in that moment. While in melee, you fight, but then if you don't kill, you get immediately fought back. Also ranged, I can shoot you with all my army if I want, but I cannot fist you with all my army. And just now I realized what I said. Marneus Calgar will be proud of me, Pedro Cantor too, but not at the moment. Yes,
Torgaradon also. They're all having a good day.
Okay, mobility. How fast and how easy they can move around?
I would. That's an interesting one. I would actually put them at probably a 4.
Really, that low?
Yeah, I mean, that's always kind of been outside of some very specific instances where you have specific units. Space Marines have always kind of had a mobility issue, and that's just because they're so jack of all trades that the entire faction is just made out of like guys with movement 6.
Yes.
Also, so if we start comparing them
up.
to some of these other armies that are like have 14 and 12 and 14-inch movements, like armory wide, basically, they definitely like pale in the comparison.
Yes.
They do have in Gladius Strike Force, they can advance and charge with Assault Doctrine, which is awesome. And then they have their teleport homers and stuff that they can rapid ingress for free, which definitely helps like alleviate some of that problem.
Especially for the slower units like Terminators that they move 5.
Right. Yeah.
Just
So
slower.
I think you can definitely like make them faster, but I think generally speaking, like most of your army is just going to be like moving 6 inches around, and that's pretty slow.
Yeah, you don't see using transports that relevant.
I think it is to some extent, but also that's like available to everyone, right? And Space Marine transports aren't particularly special.
Okay.
In that way.
Okay, so from 1 to 10, that means Death Guard to Dark Eldar, you say a 4?
I would say like a 4, yeah. They're much closer to Death Guard than they are to Dark Eldar. For sure.
Very few things are at the level of the Dark Eldar. Maybe just the Eldar.
Yeah.
Okay, shenanigans. How much they can fuck up with you and your rules?
I guess like maybe that's not really what Space Marines are about, right? They're like mostly about they're just sort of straight up, right? They're just going to attack you with a really good gun that rerolls everything and shoot you to death.
Yeah, the Space Marines are stat check.
Right. So like there's some occasional units that can mess with their opponent, but largely most of it's defensive anyway. Like the Lion is really the only
The
unit
Phobos,
coming to my head who's like
the Phobos
has, like,
armor,
these interrupted abilities.
the Marines in Phobos armor that can stop deep strike.
Yeah,
But,
I guess they also have squad tactics, so they have like a reactive movement. So I would say probably out of 5. Like they have some
5
stuff they can
sounds a
do
lot.
to mess with you, but it's not really their focus.
Yeah, I will go down even to a 4 just because it's not their focus. They have many units that can do that, but because their codex/index is extremely bloated. This thing is 252 pages. I have seen the light flash out of Bricky's eyes when he made the review of the Space Marines. It was 2 hours of review and he was skimming them.
Yeah.
So with you have that many choices, even if many are redundant, like there are 2 or 3 types of tactical marines, there are 2 type of land raider, there are maybe like 20 different type of captains. You still have choices for everything. I think this is the unending amount of choices that you have that give their versatility to the Space Marines. But that is also the way why I believe they deserve only a 4, because you are not going to put every single shenanigans unit in your army.
Right.
Unless you are trying to do the I'm gonna fuck up with you every way I can. But if you want to play Eldar, you play Eldar.
Yeah.
So, okay, next, combo. How much the various units work with each other?
I think it's relatively high. I would say probably like a 7.
Yeah.
They're definitely not like the most hardcore combo faction, but they definitely have some interesting interactions in there. There's a lot of support units like land speeders and incursors, and
yes.
their characters have like interesting effects on their units.
I believe they deserve a 7, if only for the vast amount of different rules the various kind of captains can give the units.
Right.
Because this is already something that I, as a Tyranid player, I am extremely disappointed, because I had great hopes for my Tyranid Primes.
Yeah.
I have great hopes. But we're gonna expand this argument when we talk about the Tyranids, that I believe is the next up, just because they are the start of the edition. So we're gonna do them, then we're gonna keep following let's make it different. Usually when we talk about 40k, it's always Imperium, Xeno, Chaos and Xeno. Let's do Imperium last this time.
Sure.
Death to the False Emperor. Okay, so
relative versatility.
Yes. How many different armies, play styles can this army actually support? As I said, Militao and Shooting Corn are various examples of something that in theory you could do, but is not really a supported play style.
Right.
So, what's the versatility of the Space Marine? I believe we can reach a 10.
If
not
I
10,
think
at
that's
least a
fair.
9.
if only because
they have 252 pages of
this
indexes.
is true. and then not only that, but also you can play other chapters, right? So like
Yes.
it's 252 pages in the regular document, and then there's almost that again in chapter documents, and you can, if you want to play melee Space Marines, you can swap into Black Templars or Blood Angels. If you want to play ranged Space Marines, like you can focus your Gladius Strike Force on range.
This is still Codex compliant Space Marines. The Divergent chapter, we're gonna give them a look after, because they have very different rules, very different models, and very different cost for the models. I don't remember if a tactical Marine cost the same across all the various Space Marine indexes, but I seriously doubt it.
Yeah, regular. The chapter indexes just have the chapter specific units in them. So if they're paying whatever the normal points cost is for whatever the units out of the regular Space Marine index.
Still, this is almost an easy 10. They have that much and that many things that they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, we'll have to see, how things shake out. I think there's, especially with something like versatility, there's like a lot of deep diving you have to do in factions. But I would be surprised if there were other factions with as much build variety as Space Marines have.
Yeah, even the Tyrannies, they brought down our versatility a notch, and we are in theory the most versatile army, or what should be the most versatile army. But again, when you start talking about it, also I want to specify one thing. We are, as I said, we are not going to talk that much about actual balancing, because a designer doesn't really care. A designer is the one that decide if the Terminator have T5 or T4, and that's it. Balance and points is a problem for after the design.
Yeah, that's for development.
You may hear me say something that I like how an army is well designed, and then it absolutely sucks in competitive on the tabletop, but the general design, it sounds. Then it obviously need points adjustment. But this is a point. Also, I want to ask you one last question about the Space Marines, and I'm going to ask you this for all the other armies. When you think Space Marines, what are the keywords and the emotion that they make you think about? What make you, the idea of a Space Marine makes you feel?
Like conceptually or within the framework of 10th edition 40k?
Conceptually.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would say like you want to be elite, you want to be flexible, you want to be like tactical, and you want to be, I think, resilient.
Yes. These words feel represented in the Codex.
Yeah. I think that's
perfect. I like one specific game design framework that divide the players in 4 categories: killer, achiever, socializer, and explorer. Killer is they are not hard categories. They are scales from 0 to 10. You can be 10 in all of 4 of them, theoretically. Killer means how much a player is it desires to express power. A killer player likes games very competitive, where he can flex on other players, or if they are offline games, he wants to feel the power. For example, a competitive game with a high amount of killer is League of Legends or Dynasty Warriors. You go and destroy. An achiever is one that wants to achieve an objective, is the one that want to know the inside out of the game and elaborate on that. Is the one that
Right.
explore every single rules, every single ways to make them work with each other, things like this.
Yeah.
A socializer is the one that simply want to play with others, be trolling or be helping them. And explorer is the one that want to explore the game world. I believe this army covers pretty much all of them very well. Because you can make an army extremely competitive, you can make an army extremely fluffy, you can make an army exploring a theme, you can do pretty much everything. What do you
Right.
say?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Good. And now,
And I think to some extent that's the case for all of the armies. Like fortunately
yes, but
the
some armies work
army creation
more
rules for
on,
10th edition are so flexible. You can kind of do whatever you want.
yes,
So
that is good.
yeah.
That is something that I like the old ways to make armies, but I appreciate the level of versatility that you have with these new rules.
Yeah.
So now, yes, yes,
Should we hop on to Tyranids?
yes, exactly. Now
Let's do
it's
it.
time for our buggy boys.
Buggy boys. Let's go.
Om nom nom. So, let's start. Tyrannids. I don't see my doc in the screen. In the. No, not this one. This one. Index Tyrannids. So, first, general rule: Synapse and Shadow in the Warp. 2 cents for your thought.
Synapse is pretty. I mean, it's a solid mechanic. It hasn't really changed that much from the previous editions, but like it's a decent way to implement, like the background of the big creatures controlling the little creatures. And I like the fact that the army has this like theme of Synapse matters, where like you're incentivized to put your stuff in Synapse because your stratagems get better, and in some cases your units get better. Shadow in the Warp is like big nothing. It's
Yes, I like
it's
the idea.
it doesn't really make sense from like I mean, I'm not the biggest like lore aficionado, but to my knowledge it's not like I don't know if like Tyranids do this like pulse of like psychic
Kronos.
mind control or something. And like it doesn't do anything on the tabletop. It's kind of anti-synergistic with the army. It just it's like kind of nothing role.
Hive Fleet Kronos is famous for having an extremely powerful Shadow in the Warp that they can weaponize. But I also believe that in this way, Shadow in the Warp is nice. It can swing the game in your favor, but I don't truly like it that much.
Yeah.
I believe that a simple field of -1 to the discipline, like it was for since the dawn of time, it would have been reductive, but I also believe that maybe they could have made something different instead of the
Right.
Shadow of the Warp. The Shadow in the Warp could have been a stratagem,
Yeah.
a targeted stratagem against a unit. You focus your Shadow in the Warp, your mental power, onto that unit, and it has to make a test with maluses.
Yeah.
That would have been good. And this, I've heard complaints about the 6-inch Synapse, but I believe this rule is strong enough.
Yeah,
3D
Synapse,
sets,
especially because there are ways to buff it. Like,
yes,
there's an enhancement to increase the size or to give it to characters that don't normally have it.
the new
Um,
Titan can spread it around even easier. Also, now
exactly, yeah.
morale is very different. It exists no more now. Failing discipline doesn't mean that you lose models, but you get the buff. The
Right.
whole battle shock mechanic is extremely good. Is I believe what is described as an elegant rule. An elegant rule is a rule that answer many options, many questions. How do
Yeah.
you represent a unit scared in terror as a monstrosity as big as a house start eating his friends? How do you represent being simply pinned down by superior firepower? How do you represent difficult terrain? How do you represent all this battlefield nuances? And I believe the battle shock rule works very well for this. Also,
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think the general idea is pretty good, but it probably needed another level of fine tuning to
I
be
believe the
like
fine tuning,
relevant.
is gonna arrive. As
Yeah.
8 was the pretty much beta test for 9th, I believe this whole indexes phase before the codex is the beta of 10th edition, and I believe for when in 3 years, in 2027-28, when 11th edition comes, if they're gonna stick with this whole structure, they're gonna have tuned it even more.
Yeah.
But for now, it works very well. This is just strange. And also, I would say for the army that more than many others should work on the concept of unit helping each other.
Right.
This codex doesn't really do that much.
Yeah.
Sadly, we have
Yeah.
three.
This might be our one on fluffiness. I think if I were to pick
Okay.
one.
One, no, because we still have adaptability. Our units do not work well with each other, but they work. They can adapt them on the enemy fairly easy. Hyper adaptation is an amazing rule.
Yeah, I mean, we could pump it to a 2, I guess, but
No,
I think sort of based on how Tyranids have played in other media, so like in video games and stuff like that, and then also in previous editions of the game, which is like you said, your Synapse creatures apply buffs and abilities to enhance the smaller creatures.
I like
is
that
just
a lot.
that entire mechanical theme has disappeared. It's just gone.
That was
You can. There are occasional like sort of aura buffs and stuff like that, but they're few and far between. And generally speaking, you're just you're relying on like.
I still believe that is not
stratagem.
fluffiness. I still believe that is not fluffiness. That is that goes down into combo. Combo is very low. Is a 3 maybe, just because you have. I made the wrong one. Just because you have Synapse, you have some units that work together, but is very little.
Yep.
Fluffiness is another thing, because you can field a very fluffy army. You have the freedom to drop a whole Gene Stealer army. You have the freedom to drop Nitzilla. You have the option to drop like 700 Gaunts on the table. And they work. They can work I believe fairly well. Because, if only because of hyper adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, if that's if being able to technically field an army of a certain composition is the criteria for fluffiness, then everyone's a 10, I guess.
That is
But
true. That
you
is
know, I
that
think that
also that is more
the army creation
inversatility.
rules are very fluid, right? So you can create whatever army you want, but
Yes.
you need to have like sort of a mechanical incentive to do so. I think for the army to match the background, and I don't think Tyranids do that.
But also that we are spilling out in versatility.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I think they're also very low in versatility too.
Yeah, kinda. We have some decent rules, some decent choices, but I still believe that this is more than any other codexes are really a stopgap measure, because voices in the warp says that we are going to have a lot of things. I accept the thing that they have already announced, like the new Termagant, the Norn Emissary, the new Death Leaper that looks amazing. I heard about new warriors. I heard we can expect with a reasonable amount of certainty new Hormagounts and maybe new Gargoyles. We are certain to receive new Lictors. I believe we're gonna receive enough new things in the Codex to rework a lot of the Codex.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
fully
but those aren't in
expect.
the index, right? And that's what we're talking about right now.
The index is nice. It has a lot of good things, but is halfway. It should have got something more. Like the Winged Tyranid Prime is nice. It has the same problem with all the warrior type organisms, that he has only a 4-up save. At least the Prime, I would have put them on a 3. But the fact that they have given us a Winged Prime means Winged Warriors and new sculpt for the Warriors, and maybe new sculpt for the Primes as a standalone, if only for the new head. This is the Hive Tyrant style head, and I believe this is the head they're gonna use from now on for all the Alpha Beast. So I'm fairly sure we're gonna receive new models and new rules, especially new rules, because while I understand on the design standpoint to put all in one selection all the different kind of bioweapons, and to divide the warriors into ranged and melee, I also believe that this is also a stepgap measure, because the warriors have that many choices that trying to balance them all out is a nightmare.
Yeah.
They are simply too versatile. Already, this it has 5 type of ranged weapons. If we also pair them up with also 4 type of melee bioweapons, the combination are very numerous, and to balance all of them out, it's going to be hard. But also, I don't why this gives a lot of modeling versatility. It doesn't give versatility on the battlefield. Because yes, they have Synapse. They have a fairly impressive stat line, because already T5, 3 wounds, 6 attacks, with this possible bonus plus the adaptation plus the optional prime, they are scary, or at least they feel like they are scary. Also, lot of personalization and possibility to tailor them against something. But again, the general design of the Tyranids is many models. That is why they all have kinda shitty saves.
Yeah.
Except the very big things like the monsters. The truly tanky models have these impressive profiles, or even better, like the Tervigon. The Tervigon is like here, 2 up armor, T11, a 16 wound. That is slightly less tanky than a Land Raider. And it punch fairly well. But again, something this big in another army would have had some other way to protect it. Because
yeah, I
again,
think
the
the big bugs are reasonably survivable. Like you know, you can a 2+ save already is
very good,
pretty strong in 10th edition, and then you can grant them cover in the open with Venom Thropes, and you can give them a 5+, feel no pain. So the amount of survivability you can stack on them is reasonable. I think it's fine.
Yes. The problem is, again, as always with the Tyranids, is the middle bugs, the warriors.
Yeah.
Because Gaunts, you are supposed to field hundreds of them in theory. So they die like flies, but that's the point.
Yeah.
The big monsters are the star of the show, but also in theory you should be supposed to put few of them, in theory. But is the middleman, the warriors, lictors, and everything that is almost everything that is around that level.
Yeah.
They have a better armor than the Gaunts, less tankiness than the big monsters, but they miss something. They should have just a tiny bit extra, even some extra wounds maybe. They always feel, they always or almost always feel like they are just a bit behind what they should or could be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think their stats took probably too big of a hit for commensurate, like sort of not particularly commensurate with their cost. I would, if we want to go down the rating list, I do think that Tyranids, if anything, do have they have decent table coverage. Just given the fact that a lot of their units are like very spammable, so they can take, you can put 18 zone thropes and a bunch of hard respexes and stuff in your list, and a ton of gaunts backing it up, pretty reasonably. And I think it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's
decent.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and your opponent doesn't want to get too close to it because your Tyranids are slow and their range isn't great, but they will poke you to death if you get right up close and personal with them.
Yes. They don't have much long range, but the middle to short range is very good.
Yeah, within 24 inches, they're kind of deadly.
And also, the melee is pretty scary on some units.
Yeah, it's fine. I think really it's like old One Eye, the old One Eye show once it comes to the fight phase. But
okay.
The rest of the army can kind of contribute, but it's very few Tyranid units actually one shot other units.
Old One Eye is the monster of the index. It literally melts everything or almost everything it touches. because Old One Eye is made to go hunt big stuff. This is the kind of profile that screams, I'm gonna hunt land raiders and
Right.
monoliths. Everything
for
else
sure.
is, I say, as usual, more anti-infantry than anti-vehicle, and especially anti-elite, I would say. The Swarmlord here is a good example. It slaps. The Swarmlord slaps hard.
He's okay. His the downside for most basically every Tyranid that's not a Carnifex is the low AP really hurts them.
Yes.
So once they start punching up into Space Marines and stuff, they get very inconsistent and they end up, actually doing significantly less than you expect. From
Low
them,
AP hurts, but also lower AP is the name of the game this edition, at least for now.
For melee attacks. Not necessarily for guns, but definitely for melee.
I totally expect once the index comes, a lot of weapons are gonna get their AP back.
Yeah, that would be the hope.
Still,
so I would probably put them at a 6 or a 7 for table coverage, and I think also somewhere in that rate for ranged attacks as well. I think Tyranids, like most armies of the game, Tyranids do the majority of their damage in the shooting phase, and they can.
Which is a shame.
They don't have many combos, but they can combo together some stuff with Exocrines and Pyrobores and Zoanthropes and things.
Yes, and it's a shame because I really like the melee Tyranids build. I totally expect them. Maybe not to excel, but to be very good at melee more than ranged.
Yeah.
Or at least the indexes and the codexes and the rules in general, while should be put the player in a situation where they have to choose between very good melee and very good ranged.
Yeah.
Maybe not orc level of melee power and Tau level of shooting, but you should, if you focus only on one of them, you should be able to reach closer level. So ranged, you say a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, I think somewhere in there.
Fair. And table coverage, this also a 6 or a 7. You can.
I would say almost 7 or 8, maybe.
7 to 8.
Yeah. If there is one thing the Tyranids do, it's put a lot of sort of
bodies,
meaningful bodies on the board. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I've made many lists in 10th edition that don't start with 18 Zoanthropes and 3 Haruspex and 20 other models. So just
Sadly,
a lot. It's a lot of beef.
My collection cannot do that.
Yeah.
But I could easily field 60 Gaunts. And 20 Gene Stealers.
Yeah.
That, for me, is easy. Also because those are the models I have. I'm poor. But I would say, all things considered, fluffiness maybe a 5. They feel good, but not that good. Maybe even a 4, sadly.
Yeah, I think you'd know better than I for sure.
I still have to play them. You have. But when I think of Tyranids, I think an overwhelming amount of bodies and raw power.
Yeah.
Just drowning the enemy. And I have seen, I've heard from other review that the Tyranids as they are right now is more of a control army, which doesn't truly feel like Tyranids to me. When I think of Tyranid, I think swarms with some big stuff. I feel I think raw power in the synaptic creatures, the hive tyrants, even the primes. I feel like they should be scary, really scary. And I feel also shenanigans, many shenanigans, more than combo. Because in theory you have a lot of things. You have units that can pop out from anywhere, Raveners, Trigons, you have Gargoyles, you have good flyers in the Hive Crown and the RP, you have lots of option, especially with your all the psychic units, to mess up with the enemy. I believe they should have more trick up their claws.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Yeah, they're definitely the kind of one note right now, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a 5 just because it hurts my soul to put them even lower. Just because they are my boys. Just because of that.
In terms of melee, I would put them at like maybe a 5. I think their melee is okay,
but not amazing.
But it's difficult to deliver. So unlike some factions like orcs or something, they don't have like these bursts of speed that they can get their melee stuff into melee. Yes. They're just sort of hoping that you let them charge you, yes. Which is not a great place to be.
We have some fast and dangerous units like the Trigon.
Yeah, the Trigon solid, and Carnifexes are reactively good. If you shoot them, then they can move and stuff, which is
even
great.
The Gene Stealers, 8 movement, 5 attacks, and with a Broodlord devastating wounds. They are very good. They could also be very scary, but also is outliers.
Right. And a lot of the melee, the threat range is all like extremely predictable, right? Like your opponent, if they don't want to be charged, they can just stand out of the range and you can't get them.
The Hormagans are a good example. Extremely fast. Right. And in unit of 20, they can deliver, I believe, quite a punch. Because it's 60 attacks with all the special rules for the adaptation and other. Non poteva essere un mio video senza il telefono che squilla. Un secondo. Is a meme on my channel. Every time I make a video or a stream, I forget the phone on.
Oh yeah,
so
I know that pain for sure.
To happen. And I said they can deliver a quite nasty punch, but not that much, which should be good. They are swarms. They should be mass. They should pressure you with the idea. I'm not gonna focus them, but if I don't focus them, they are gonna be a big nuisance. Because 20 of these little things is 40 points of objective control. Right. They are gonna swing objective from your opponent nose if they forget they are there. But also they are extremely easy to kill. And they cost like 7 points each at the moment. Is 70 points for a unit of 10, I believe. I think I remember. They are cheap, but I feel they could or should be even cheaper, considering that they die to everything. Also, Blast is everywhere and is even better than ever.
Yeah, Blast is killer for those big units. I am a little worried about the Horde Tyranids because I do think Blast kind of kills them in the cradle.
As it should be.
A little bit, but we'll find out.
It should be exactly like this. Blast is the counter to the swarms. But it should not mean I cannot feel the swarms at all.
Yeah.
And also, it should punish the opponents that forget to bring enough blast. You have not enough flamers, you have not enough blast, you have not enough firepower. That sounds like a prey problem.
Yeah.
So is sad to say, but this index is good. It has some good choices. It has some very good rules. I truly like the Neuro Tyrant. I very like the Tyrant Guard, for the simple fact that is a stat checker. Can you deal with T8 3-up armor, pretty much little vehicles? If not, my Hive Tyrant is going to reach you and open you up. If you do, good, better for you. Also, they have a fair amount of flexibility, so I really like them, and I like some of the combos they can do, but I truly don't like the fact that leader is on so few units and is so limited.
Yeah. I think that is, I mean, one of the things holding the codex back for sure,
Yes.
or the index back, is that
I
the
would have
leader
loved-
ability doesn't carry over anywhere really.
Yes, like I understand the whole Hive Tyrants go only with Tyrant Guard, and even the Broodlord goes only with the Genie Stealers, but the Primes, I would have really liked them on with the Gaunts.
Yeah.
Or the Tervigon. The fact that the Tervigon does not get anything near the Termagaunts is sad, I believe.
Nothing defensively.
I get it. With this stat line, it would have been too much. I believe it would have been too much. With this profile, I get it. But nothing is...
I mean,
missing
potentially.
opportunity.
I also think that the Termagants, if it were to join Termagants, it would be a trade-off. It's not. It doesn't entirely make it that much harder to kill, because killing 20 Termagants is sort of trivial, and then spillover damage you would still hit the Tervigon with. So you could actually potentially, fight the Tervigon at toughness 3 basically instead of at toughness 11, which is, it's a pretty big deal. So I think it being able to join Termagants would have been interesting, but
Interesting.
alas, that is not the index we got.
Yes, and we
I'd
do not have
probably put them
the
at like a
Neurotrope.
Yeah.
We do not have the Neurotrope anymore.
Right, it's
also
the
is
unit
very
champion
sad.
of the Zones Group unit.
Yes, it should have been very good to still have him on his own, joining units.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot of versatility. Even the Neurogaunts have potential, I believe, if only because they are extremely dirt cheap.
Yeah.
They are by far the worst stat line I have seen in the Codex, except the Swarms. And even they are better. Just the Spore Mines. The Spore Mines
they might be the worst style line in the game.
I believe just the Spore Mines are worse, because the Spore Mines are 1.
Oh, sure, yeah. Spore Mines usually
on everything.
But also,
But also, these
Spore Mines do mortal wounds, though.
Yes.
And Deep Strike, right? So,
yes.
a little bit better.
But these are dirt cheap.
Yeah.
You can field a lot, and it's nice that they increase synapse, considering that now they only have the 6-inch.
Right.
But the only unit that can join them is the Neuro Tyrant.
Right.
Why? In the lore, it is stated that they are bodyguards for the synaptic creatures.
Right.
I fully expected every synaptic creature to be able to join them.
Yeah.
Everyone. Alas,
Yeah. Again, I don't think it's that fluffy of an index.
no, okay.
It sort of did stuff.
I talked myself into lowering it to a 4.
Yeah.
Is as sad as it is.
Yeah, I think that they have with the leader keyword, they have this preoccupation with assigning everything to the unit that looks like it, right? Like Terminator guys go with Terminators and Gravis guys go with Gravis and all that stuff. But
I get it.
Carrying that over to other factions like Tyranids it just doesn't make sense, right?
Yes, I get it.
That makes the faction not really work very well. It doesn't make sense conceptually.
I get the preoccupation with the spillover damage.
Mm-hmm.
That I get it. But us Tyranids have not the amount of choices in the HQ department to pull off leader in this way.
Right.
Sadly, we can't. Melee, you said a 5. Serviceable.
Yeah, I'd put them at a 5.
Serviceable.
I think their melee output is probably like maybe above average across the whole game, but I think they have a tougher time getting into melee than a lot of factions.
The problem with their melee, I always thought, I brain reset, because I have to translate what I mean to say of them. What I always felt is that the Tyranids melee doesn't really miss the punch, but it means the option to get the punch back.
Right.
We do good on the charge, but if the opponent survive, we don't have that much survivability, even on the big monsters.
Yeah.
As a general rule, and I get it, is part of the design. If we had a lot of models and they were also tanky enough to survive, it would be broken.
Right.
The design philosophy of the Tyranids, from what I've seen in the codexes and in the indexes over the years, is on average lower toughness and armor, more especially armor, than what they should have in exchange for usually lower point cost.
Yeah.
Which is
having lower defensive stats and being cheaper is one thing, but having lower defensive stats and lower offensive stats makes it a little bit more difficult to leverage that new
really needed to
high numbers.
If you have this low of a defensive stats, you need to have or an extremely hard punch like the Dark Eldar, that they are made of wet tissue paper, but they can obliterate everything, or you can simply field too much guys to be killed. Like Imperial Guard, they can literally recycle entire squads. Why don't we can? We can replenish quite effectively our guns, but our old limitless rule from 4th edition, when my unit of Termagant is completely destroyed. Oh, here's a new one, fresh from the reserves. Why don't? This could have been a better rule than Shadow in the Warp.
Right.
When a unit dies of battle line or infinite multitude dies, you roll a dice, and you have to roll less than your turn. If you roll less than your turn, that the unit can come back. Now, this sounds OP as hell, but as a concept it feels better. Also mobility is good. Mobility, I believe, is good. A lot of our stuff is fairly fast, and the Tyrannocyte doesn't really cost that much.
I mean, I would put it at a 4 or 5, maybe. I don't know if I would say it's like great.
Maybe even a
It's
6.
probably equivalent to Space Marines. Like they have
Maybe even a
transports
6,
and advance and
because-
charge, but Tyranids have like Trigons and like
Yes.
Cormagons and stuff. So it's
Because
you know
we
it's like
have,
it's about the same.
I would even say a 6 because our fast stuff is, I believe, more dangerous than the Space Marines
Sure.
on average, or more
Well, I
numerous.
don't know about that, but maybe.
I will dare to say a 6. We can drop down it later. Shenanigans, like a 2 or a 3. The only truly shenanigans is a Shallow in the Warp.
Yeah.
If I go into the indexes back,
There's like Carnifexes move reactively. Like turn against you, turn against move if you move near
but this
them.
is not
Like just a little
shenanigans.
bit, but
But
it's
this is
not
not
really the focus for sure.
truly shenanigans
Yeah.
is nice stuff. Is an amount of shenanigans, but is not manipulating the rules on your advantage in an important way. Yes, the gargoyles can move, shoot, move. The termagants move reactively. The carnifexes too. And you can force an army-wide battle shock. And that's it.
Yeah.
As I said, I feel like the Tyranids should be should have more shenanigans. Like, yes, you have with your psychic powers some cool stuff on some units, like the Broodlord, that can reduce the hit roll of the enemy. But again, it doesn't feel that impactful. I feel that we should field less and better synaptic creatures and more chaff.
Yeah, I think it seems like I think that most of the armies are going to sort of aim at a little bit of chaff, and then a lot of it's going to be synapse creatures. But
Yes.
at this point, the synapse keyword is so diluted that it's
Yes.
it's kind of a coin flip whether or not your unit just randomly gets synapse. Like Zoanthropes have it, which is great and is probably the best unit in the index. And so most of the units you take are just going to be synapse by
I
that.
love the new Zoanthropes just because they are the old Zoanthropes.
Right? Yeah.
They finally came back. Warp Blast finally came back to what it was.
Yeah.
Melt everything. And I also like the fact that the focused Warp Blast is not hazardous.
Yeah, I think they're all. I mean, both profiles are pretty solid for sure.
They are extremely solid. D3 attack with Blast on 7 strength AP2. This AP2 is nice. The D3 damage is more... but it's D3 attacks for every Zoanthropes.
Yeah.
It's for a full unit, it's 6 D3.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. And this is pretty much a less cannon.
Yeah. Yep.
And also, they still have
almost
T5
exactly, with lethal hits.
and for it's not a longer a 3 up, but 4 up invulnerable is still it still works.
Yeah, they're
Also-
fine, and I mean, like their points per wound in terms of survivability is really really good. So
Yes,
I think you just windmill slam as many Zoanthropes as you
Yes.
can, basically.
which is sad, which is really sad. They are an elite unit. You should have a sparkle of them.
Right.
I feel that like this design / strategy of the Tyranid should be a sea of swarms with some elite unit and monsters to round it up.
Yeah.
I believe that should be the core strategy. Because we have some good monsters. Like here, the Trigon. This is a scary profile. It's only strength 9, but this is I kill elite. I kill elite infantry like anything. And also, if we really want scary melee power, we have our new best boy, the Exocrine, if I can find it. TRPG. They are not even in alphabetical order. Eccolo qua. Eccolo qui. Love respects. This is scary. This is extremely scary in combat. And they are like 130 points. If I remember. They are cheap. They are very cheap.
Yeah, the hard specs is really cheap. The downside is the 3+ save means that they're not like super tanky, but they're mostly just like draw fire. Your opponent will kill them before they get to melee, but in doing so, they don't shoot at your zoanthropes, and then that's pretty.
Yeah, again, this is the balancing act of the Tyranids. Yeah. Good toughness, a lot of wounds, armor, meh.
Yeah.
So going back for the last evaluation.
Yeah, I think we placed them low on shenanigans, and then I would put them, sort of middling on versatility, I guess. I think that you'll probably end up with, there's the technical ability to play a bunch of different armies, but I think generally speaking, the effective ones are going to be like kind of a mixed arms where you have a couple of elite units like zoanthropes, you have a couple monsters like. Or respected as Hive Tyrants, and then the rest is a couple hordes.
As it is right now, the only true actual army that you can field is Monster Mesh and the congregation of Psychers. Malanthrope, Zoanthropes, and more Malanthrope and Zoanthropes. Because they are the only ones that can survive.
Yeah, I agree.
And the Shout Punch. Or Monster Mash with Carnifex Rush.
Yep.
Again,
so should we hop over to Genestealer cults if we're on the Tyranid train?
Yeah. Let's talk about the lesser cousins. I truly don't like them.
Yeah, I don't love the aesthetic. I think they look a little, I don't know, they look a little funny. They look a little like Star Trek, like Klingons. They just put a prosthetic on the guy's forehead and they're like, you're an alien now. I do think, though, if we want to talk about it in terms of fluffiness, I do think Genestealer cults are kind of knock it out of the park. The idea that you have to like scour all the buildings of their inhabitants, otherwise these cult units are going to constantly be surrounding you and rising up from the underground and coming out of buildings is like
that is also
just
good
rule
I would have liked on my or my proper Tyranids.
Yeah, it is funny that the Genestealer cults are more numerous than the actual Tyranids, but it is what it is.
Cult Ambush is a good rule. And
Yeah,
the whole Brood Brothers thing is also good because you have a limitation on what you can take.
Yeah.
Of course. But I only see Epic Hero, Ogre, Rattlings, Tempestus, Commissars, Preachers, and pretty much this is, and Aircraft. This is all the characters. Keyword pretty much. Nothing stops you from taking a Baneblade if you want.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a
funny. We were talking about it on my stream the other day, but there is a funny interaction where if you take only Brood Brothers, right? So you can take up to 500 points of them. So you take 500 points of Brood Brothers. Then suddenly you unlock all of the Imperium ally rules because you only have Imperial units in your army. And so you can take like you can take Imperial agents and Adeptus Titanicus
Oh
in your
yeah,
Gene Stealer
yeah,
Cult Army. If you don't include any Gene Stealer Cult models in your Gene Stealer Cult Army.
Yeah, this rule makes so that technically you don't have to put a Gene Stealer Cult's model in your
Yeah.
army, at least the rule
Which
has
is-
written. We
yeah,
all
which
know
is
that rule
extremely
has
funny.
intended you have to choose the Gene Stealer Cult keyword when you make the army, and you have to base on that, and this is an exception. But technically,
Yeah.
rule has
It
written,
just means that you have a very bad Imperial Guard army that doesn't get any stratagems or detachment abilities, but it is very funny.
technically, yes, that is a
yeah.
good amount of shenanigans.
It's very, very shenanigans. Yeah, if we want to put them on shenanigans too, this might be one of the shenaniganiest factions in the game. Also,
Yes.
yeah.
Also, they have one I like when an army has one rule that is very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Because often they are very powerful, or more
Yeah.
powerful than the extremely long-winded one.
Yeah.
A good example that I am going to discuss later is the Necrons.
Yeah.
I really like the design concept of the Necrons. This is an extremely powerful rule because sustaining hits one and ignores cover. The turn you comes from reinforcements on an army that can have free reinforcement pretty much is extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you can constantly have new units fresh from the reserves come back, and they're all gonna have extra hits and ignore your cover. And cover is very powerful this edition. This is simple but is impactful. Thing that Shadow in the Warp is not that much.
Right.
But alas, we have to deal with the hand we have. Also, I have to admit, I don't like Gene Stealer cults, but some of these stratagems have amazing names.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We have to admit that Bricky is right. These names are absolutely lit.
So I would put them like sort of towards the top on fluffiness and probably table coverage too, because they have tons of models. You have to, they also require you to have good table coverage because you have to stop them from regenerating those models. With their cult ambush.
Fluffiness, I would say another 9.
Yeah.
You really feel like you are the underdog. Because
you sort of walked into a bad neighborhood.
Yes, a very bad neighborhood. Because if I give a look at the datasheets, they are not that good. Like, they are nice, but they are not amazing.
Right.
So you really have, I have pretty much a ragtag team of mutants and reject that literally fight with mining equipment, and I have to use every single dirt trick in the book to win. And you have a lot of dirt tricks in the book with them. So again, table coverage, I would say another 7.
Yeah.
Because you can do a lot. And shenanigans, I would say another 7.
Yeah, I think that is for sure the case.
You can do many weird stuff with the Gene Stealer cults. And as that, I would say even combo could be. Because you must combo the rules together. You have to literally use every trick. You have to set up your armies up in the ruins because you need to get that extra beep of AP. You need to use your characters well. Again, I'm looking at the datasheets. putting them back on the stream now. And we have already here Feel No Pain 5 Plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For hybrid metaphors and hybrids. These are good data sheets. The hybrids are violent. They are aggressive. And Acolyte and Neophytes are pretty much your standard troop. Giving your standard troop pretty much 30% extra survivability is nice. Or at least feels nice, because this is the hybrids. You can join the hybrids, yes. They are T4, yes, but save at 5. When you add the Feel No Pain, you pretty much double their survivability.
For sure.
Is scary. Inoltre, scusa un secondo, ne approfitto per salutare quelli che sono sul mio lato, sul lato italiano dello stream, che sto ignorando la mia chat da più o meno 2 ore. Ciao a tutti, signori. So, we were about... yes, also, mobility is nice.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, how much you consider Deep Strike in that category, but the fact that they're, the entire army Deep Strikes and they're all going to sort of pop out and show up in multiple different places,
this
I think
is certainly something that weight a lot in mobility.
Yeah.
The fact that you can simply decide that is a good point for them, they are there, full stop,
Right.
is good. Considering that you also have constantly new reinforcements.
Yeah.
And they don't have a bad movement value too, after all, in
Right.
general. So mobility, at least a 6. I don't remember,
I would put them as far as like a 7 or an 8, I think, honestly.
I don't remember
Especially just the ability to drop in outside 3 instead of outside 9
Yes,
of people means that
that is
they're
extremely
basically like
good.
sort of functionally unscreenable
Yes.
Deep Strikes, so they can go wherever they want.
There are many units that can pop out and back in.
Right.
Now, I know, I'm asking, I don't remember.
In like the entirety of the game,
No, in Genestealer Cults.
or in Gene Stealer called specifically.
Uh,
I mean, part of it is that like most of their units are going to die, right?
And then
they're
come
just
back.
going to
So
respawn and show up somewhere else.
Basically, is the same thing. Yes.
But they can also, at the end of your turn for a CP, they can take up to 2 battle line or 1 infantry unit, and then put them into strategic reserve.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then Deep Strike for
Allora,
the next turn.
an
Yeah.
easy 8.
Return to the Shadows is the name.
An easy 8.
Yeah.
Okay, combo. Let's give us
I actually think it's also pretty high. They
Yes.
have, I mean, their characters are super important. They have a lot of abilities.
And not only they are super important, but they can go into a lot of their units. Because the Genestealer Cults have not that many units to choose. They are not a big index. They have Acolyte hybrids, they have Neophyte hybrids, they have the mutant ones, and that's it.
Yeah.
As infantry units. They have the metamorphs, yes, but they don't have that many choices. And the fact that these characters can go in pretty much 75% of your codex, of your choices, is very good. And they have a lot of choices for power. Because, okay, the Aberrants, not that much. The Abominant even. But, again, the Icon Ward, Feel No Pain. And I believe also they don't cost that much. So you can easily take 2 or 3 if you really, really want. Also, the Biophagus, Lethal Hits. And
Yeah.
once per battle, you can increase your attacks and damage.
Yeah, and they stack a lot too. They have a lot of characters
Yes.
that can join alongside each other.
Infatti here the Biofagus can go inside with the Primus, Magus and Icon Ward.
Right.
The Clavamus that gives a nice nothing, però distribute mortal wounds when someone fails battle shock around. Nice to have around. Also with Primus, Magus, and Icon Ward. And Primus and Magus, if I can find them, this is very nice, even if it's only a lone operative. This is basically Alien Clint Eastwood. And Locus even fight first. This is one of the best abilities in the game. Full stop.
Yeah.
And you again, hybrid metamorphs and neophyte hybrids. That okay, are not that scary, but they are scary enough. Magus feel no pain against psychic attacks and more mortal wounds. And Nexus again, you can target for 0 CP the target, the unit they are inside, and again with Primus, Magus and Icon Wards, you can truly stack them. And yeah, this is pretty much a Broodlord, but still, in the Tyrannid army, Broodlord and Genestealers are good. In the Genestealer cults, they are amazing. Because the Genestealer cults have nothing better. And this is the Primus, reroll the hit roll for shooting and melee attack. This is also amazing. An amazing leader. I am fairly envious of the Genestealer cults. Like, okay, you have the versatility that you are half human, but being half Tyrannid, half human means that you are half superior, half inferior. No, it doesn't truly work
both.
like that. It shouldn't truly work like that. But they have
I would put them high on combos as well. I mean, for all the reasons that you talked about. They also have, units like the Achilles Ridge Runner can just like supercharge their shooting.
Yes.
And
at least a 7.
I do think that they are going to be low on versatility though, because I think a lot of those builds are basically like preset, right? You're going to build
that's the point.
these big bricks of infantry, and they're going to set them supported by characters, and that's basically what you do.
Considering also that they have a fairly limited amount of models,
right?
And a lot of their versatility comes from the from the Brood Brothers rule.
Yep.
Because then you can add the heavy hitter on the even more table coverage and the heavy weapons. Because if you can add the Cadians, then you have the last cannons that you miss, the grenade launchers, the Melta, the autocannons. If you while there are some nice vehicles like the Goliath, nothing beat Aleman Russ. Or even worse, as we discussed before, a Baneblade.
Yeah.
You have a lot of shenanigans, but you rely pretty much on another codex for filling the gaps. Versatility here is very low, I dare to say a 3.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
90% of the armies are gonna be, if not identical, very, very similar to each other.
Yeah. And I think I would put their range, melee and range, somewhere around the middle.
5 or 6.
Yeah, I think maybe a
nice,
6 for range and like a 5 for melee is probably
nice,
where they end up.
usable, serviceable, but
Yeah,
again
but
need that little bit of extra oomph from the Imperial Guard.
yeah, and like a lot of it's that like their stats are very bad to begin with, but then once that
Yeah.
high combo score comes in, then they start actually
Yes, yes, they
doing
are.
damage, and
They
then
have again a very bad stat line, but they
right,
work very well with each other, and I have some rules that really allow them to compensate, like
yeah,
they came from below, cult ambush. They are a classical example of bad rules, but bad datasheet, but amazing rules.
yeah,
I say this is a nice index. Which
yeah,
the amount of orange between these two is criminal.
yeah, for sure. Who's next on our list?
Let's. You
We
have
got Eldar.
already
Should we
made
start
it.
doing the Eldar
So
factions?
yes, let's start with Eldari. Uh,
Cool.
just because I'm lazy and it's already here.
Yeah. I think we're probably gonna put a lot of orange on this one too. I have a sneaking suspicion.
Uh,
Um,
I fear. I fear. Especially.
yeah.
Okay. First of all,
Uh, yeah, fluffiness, shenanigans. Yeah, pretty
yeah.
shenanigan-y for sure. A lot of reactive movements, a lot of like
Reactive movement,
abilities to use in your opponent's turn. For sure.
the abilities in your opponent, and the whole fact that they can pretty much choose their own roles.
Yeah,
That is automatically the max amount of shenanigans. Sisters of Battle are gonna reach 9 for the same exact reason. So let's give it a fast look at the index and the rule specifically. Strand of Fate. You roll 12d6, you save the results, and you can substitute any each of them into for pretty much anything in the game.
right.
And if you, like me, have bad luck in love and in game, you can even re-roll at the easy cost of 1 less dice. This is very good. The versatility of this is amazing, and it works even better if you consider that some units not only give you more fate dice, but the one unit that I believe is the best character in the codex, or could be, is the Seer, if I find it. Is the one that says that anytime, Farseer, anytime you have to use a fate dice inside the 12 of a Farseer, you
Yeah, that's all of the
becomes
all
a
of the
6.
different Farseer versions can do that.
Yes, it pretty
And then
much
on top of that,
automatically
you have
becomes a 6.
Eldrad
Once
as well, who just gives you 3 additional.
Yes, once per turn, you have an automatic 6. That means if you roll some ones, you don't care, because you have the Farseer that for anything inside 12, you turn that one into a 6.
Yep.
And
Easy peasy.
the Guardians, if I believe, give you more.
Yeah, they give you an
Fate
extra one if
dice,
they're on an
one
objective,
extra
which they
fate
should be.
dice. That again, you don't really mind if it's a 1 if you have a Farseer. And I
Right.
believe you're gonna have a lot of Farseers because of that. And as usual, they have an horrendous stat line, defensive stat line. Just the Farseers, the big heroes, have these invulnerable saves. Everything else is made of tissue paper.
Yeah.
Like T3
Everything that's not
already
a wraith unit, but the wraith units are extremely difficult to kill.
those are supposed to be big, beefy, tanky.
Yeah.
Everything else is made of tissue paper, but they can punch a lot. They can punch a lot higher than their weight class.
Right.
Because of the Strand of Fate abilities and the characters.
Yeah,
My God, they can annihilate things. They they shoot more, or they shoot better, or they simply ignore the shooting and drop down 3 sixes to hit, to wound, for the number of damage, and your monsters, your vehicle, your captain explodes.
Yeah.
Also, I
think if we're going down the track here, I think I would put them pretty reasonably fluffy. I think the fact that the whole codex, the whole index is like super fast. Yes. Everything's super easy to kill, but it's super fast and it's hard to get your grip with.
Paper,
and then
punch like they are the exemplar of glass cannon.
Right. Yeah, and I think they outside of the stuff that, like you said, is supposed to be tanky, everything's not very tanky.
Again, if something is supposed
and I think that they
be
sort of
tanky,
nailed that for sure.
It's best if it's tanky. If something is supposed to be a glass cannon, it should feel like a glass cannon. But also they have many ways to protect their glass cannon.
Yeah.
Like making you believe there is another glass cannon made of vapor, and you shoot the wrong one.
Right.
I believe this could be a first 10.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Table coverage, though, is probably the opposite, right?
Oh, no, yeah.
I think,
everything costs a lot.
Yeah.
You must pay. Your character tax is like 25% of your, if not more, of your total balance of your point cost, because you really need to stack them up. Every unit must have a character to truly work. This is the same like the Necrons.
Yeah.
Even if for different reason. I believe maybe a 3. You can
I think that's fair.
can leave the Guardians without characters, but at least the warriors, the aspect warriors, the Wright unit, and all the weird units like the Harlequins or the Corsairs, you wanna have inside them as many characters you can.
Yeah.
Just because, as always, the Eldar works with stacking rules on top of each other. All the rules, all of the time.
Ranged attacks, though, I think also a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the highly controversial interaction between Strands of Fate Dice and Devastating Wounds, and the fact that their range profiles are all super duper pushed is
yes
definitely helps.
Also, if it could have been summarized in one word, 2 words, Fire Prism.
Yeah. Yeah, 125 points for a 6 damage gun. 6 damage.
The Fire Prism is one of the scariest thing I have ever seen.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I
reasonable.
already have a personal vendetta against Eldar from a game in 7th edition when this player had an alliance with the Dark Eldar, when the Archons could bring a bunch of units in deep strike with him, and he deep striked a whole full unit of Right Guard with D-Cannon that in one turn of shooting obliterated 1,500 points of my Tyranids.
Oh boy.
It annihilated my Swarmlord, the guards around the Swarmlord, the warriors around the guards, and a whole bunch of everything else that was nearby. The second turn, I packed up and left, because I was completely tilted. I know it wasn't his fault, but I swear I would have punched him. I wanted to punch him really, really, really hard. And I can't find the fire prism in the index, just because to show everyone how much terrifying they are. I can't find them. Amazing. Trova testo, fire prism. Ah, found it. Fathers one and all, admire terror. Okay, first of all, T9 3-up armor. It's pretty much made of paper.
Yeah,
for a vehicle, T9 is ridiculously low. Our Tyrant are better stat. Hell, their stat line is slightly better than our Tyrant guards. So again, fast, blindingly fast, but this, my god. First of all, 60 range. They can shoot the other tables. Pretty much.
Yeah, it is funny that they keep printing ranges at that level, despite the fact that the board size is so much smaller.
Apocalypse exists. You have to consider that. But in a normal game means I shoot you. I don't have need to move.
Right.
And with the 18 strength, AP4, D6, they have 2 attacks. 2 that hit on trees.
Yeah.
With all the rerolls and shenanigans that you can have.
Yeah.
Also, you can shoot from other fire prism. That means you have 3 fire prism, you keep them out of range, you let one stick out their head just enough for them to see you, and then is 6 shots.
Yeah.
Is incredible. The only thing that saves this from being absolutely horrendous, even more than what it is the fact that, thank gods, the prism cannon does not have devastating wounds.
Yeah.
That
for sure.
is the only thing that saves, because otherwise this means I am going to kill one Imperial Knight for turn.
Right.
Is
close to it for sure.
Close, very close to it, because it's very easy to hit. I don't remember if the Eldar have shenanigans to negate or the invulnerable saves or something like that, or
no, nothing does that now. Invulnerable saves are truly returning to being invulnerable,
which is amazing. But still, these 6 hits that you can pretty much assume they're all gonna hit, they're all gonna wound, is 6 for 6 is 36 wounds.
Yeah.
Even if you save 2 of them with the iron shields, it's 24 wounds.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything with more than 24 wounds, except the Titans.
Right.
This is, for any elite army or any vehicle heavy army, this is the bane of their existence, and this is the bane for us. Because AP only 1 is only 1, but 2 damage means that even Space Marines need to be scared. And 2d6, and I'm pretty sure you can fate these dice. If you truly want, you can have 12 shot full stop plus blast.
Yeah.
It's
It's pretty good.
It's a criminal
And
amount of shots. And let me just 1 second look at the points. Point cost. Search. Fire prism. This hell of a monster is 125 points.
yeah.
125 is cheap as hell. Everyone that can is gonna take 3 of these.
Yeah, every time. For sure.
I would, and I hate shooting armies. They are very, very, very well made. too well made. Almost too well made, I dare to say.
Yeah. So I think the trade-off is that their melee is probably below average.
Serviceable.
Yeah. So I would put them
Serviceable.
probably at like a 3, maybe a 4 in melee.
I would say a 4 because even if the of course the melee units like the Banshees and the Striking Scorpions hit hard. Let me search for one. Here, Howling Banshees. They hit decently hard. I 4 or 5 attacks with each is 40 attacks because these go up only to 10, I believe.
Yeah, it's only 3 on the regular
and
Banshees.
4
Yeah.
on the Exarch, but still, it's more than serviceable with AP3.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, the AP is good, but the strength and damage is low.
Yes, but again, a lot of AP. A lot of AP mean that once I wound you, you're wounded.
Right.
And they also have a nice survivability. The Striking Scorpion on the other side.
Yeah, I think the downside of the melee profiles is that a lot of the melee profiles are basically keyed specifically to killing infantry, which isn't.
Yes.
I mean, that's fine. It's a good place to be, but you could also just kill them with blast weapons. Yeah, it's like not really a necessary tool to have.
But the point is that you have everything else to take care of everything else. One of the few things that, in theory, the Eldar should miss is easy anti-horde.
Right.
So it's fine, but also you see the other side of the medal: low AP, high strength, high damage. So you have 2 different niches, and you have 2 different units to cover them. This is good design. Every unit has its own niche. How good it is another point. Because you see, cosa, Karandras, Striking Scorpions, they are 150 points then. They feels a bit pricey.
Yeah.
For this profile, even considering they can take devastating wounds with the Mandi Blaster.
Mm-hmm.
But again, pretty much everything has sustained hits. Is serviceable. Less anti-elite, but you pretty much have to choose. You prefer high AP or high damage and strength.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off. But again, the points are serviceable. The Banshees. The Banshees Screaming Banshees. Howling Banshees, yes. Again, they cost slightly more, but I believe it's a premium for the higher AP. But again, they are fairly comparable. So I should say yes, a 4 or a 5. Serviceable, far from being the focus of the army as a whole, but when you need it, you can find it.
Yeah.
Mobility.
Definitely above average. Yeah.
Mobility, if not
Pretty
a
high,
10,
for sure.
I refuse to put them below an 8.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Everything is blindingly fast.
Yeah, even the wraith stuff, I mean, is slow statted, but everything can phantasm and move it in your opponent's turn, and they have easy access to deep strike and ways to speed things up. So I think that they're definitely a high mobility score for sure. And I think as we talked about before, also between characters and fate dice, a lot of combos as well.
Yes, yeah, a lot of combos, and then you can simply keep them alive. Here, Bright Lord. Eight movement.
Yeah.
It felt slow on the our specs, but on this it feels fast. Because look at all this shooting, and the Bright Lord can have like 3 of this, right? It has 2 shuriken catapults and can take the flamers, and also it can have the missile, the lance, the laser, and the cannons. And these are scary profile. The Bright Lance is amazing. AP 3d6 plus 2 damage. This hurts. It's only one shot.
This is better than the
plus.
last cannon. Sorry, last cannons. Get out of here.
It's the only saving grace is that the ballistic and weapon skill, it's only for plus.
Right. Yeah, you're meant to attach Spirit Seers to
Knight,
buff them.
It could have a 2, but I am absolutely sure there is one character that gives them +1.
Yeah, the Spirit Seer.
Yes, that one, exactly.
It does only buff the unit it's attached to, so it can attach to a single Wraith Lord if it wants to, but normally you're going to attach them to Wraith Guard.
I don't know if you can attach characters to single units, to single model units.
Yeah, the Spirit Seer can.
Okay. But again, let me search. Right Guard. Only movement 6, because they have shorter legs, but T7 armor 2, entry wounds. These are comparable to the Tyrant Guard, lower toughness, better save, but they shoot. My god, if they shoot.
Yeah.
Why should they need to move more than 6 when they have this kind of firepower? You can have 5 to 10. 10 Wraith Cannons? They are dangerous.
Can confirm,
Especially
it's pretty good.
if you buff them up. They are very dangerous, even if you don't use Strand of Dice the damage. They are very dangerous. The D-Sight, even D6 attack, this clears infantry. With AP 4. I don't know. Said the shooting of these things is is ridiculous. And combo are also at least an 8.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The amount of shenanigans alone spill over into combo improves it even more. The amount of stuff you can do is amazing. But also this lowers a little bit of versatility, because you have to play as a glass cannon, and you can do only that. You have to focus pretty much only on your mobility. You can make an army of only Wraith units, and then you're gonna be very tanky. But the Wraith Guard we have seen, they miss on range, and so you need more units to provide the shenanigans and the mobility. But then you go back into having less of a totally Wraith Guard army. So I say versatility is 5.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
They are so much hyper specialized that they can pretty much do one or two things.
Yep.
They can do very little extra.
Yeah.
And this brings to the army that is going to have pretty much exactly the same values.
Are we gonna do, just hop over to Drukhari probably?
Yeah, we are already here.
There you go.
So, Dark Eldars, Drukhari, I believe they have pretty much the same values in everything.
Yeah.
Except
I think their shenanigans are lower probably. They don't have the same reactive abilities.
Yes, allora,
Yeah.
Una cosa per volta. Ranged is completely busted. They ranged firepowers and their rules have absolutely no right to be what they are.
I do think that they are probably lower on range and higher on melee than Eldar, but I don't think by much. It's probably, I guess it's a question of whether or not we want to compare their range directly to Eldar, or decide whether or not we're rating them on how important range is, because I do think that their range is significantly worse than Eldar, but it's
this makes them even less versatile in certain build, because they need to be even closer to the enemy.
Right.
And this makes them in a more dangerous spot. They are less safe than the Eldari.
Yeah.
But my god, Power from Pain doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
Give a look at this. Give a look at my stream. They can gain a lot of stuff from this. Not only you get a lot of pain tokens from the start, and you get even more if you feel in the right way the detachment.
Yeah.
If not even more, because this is one.
You start with usually 7, I think is generally the average, and then you can gain more with the enhancement, and then
rules, yes.
When
also,
you kill people, obviously.
I see now. This is 1 extra pain tokens for each of the following.
Right.
And they are cumulative.
Yeah. You're almost always going to have an Archon, and you're likely to have a Succubus. I don't know how often you take Homunculi.
I have seen them play, and they are fairly dangerous. They are scary. Yeah. But also, they give you unparalleled mobility with reroll advance and charge, and the reroll charge is very good, and rerolling hit rolls.
I think you're almost 100% burning on the hit rerolls.
Yes.
I don't. The advance and charge is timed so weirdly that it's actually not very useful ability.
But again, even if
the hit rolls is used all the time.
If only that is extremely scary considering the stat lines, because again the Dark Eldars are made of tissue paper.
Yeah.
For one simple reason. They have horrendous toughness,
Yeah.
usually. Now, Drazar, this, okay, is Drazar, it has a 2 plus armor, but the standard homunculus has only a 6 plus, both in safe and invulnerable. It completely relies on a very good feel of pain at 5 plus, but is not that tanky. Hellions 5 plus, 6 plus, Incubi, they are the better ones. 3 plus, 5 up, 5 plus. They are some of the better ones. But look at how much they can hurt. 3 attacks each, strength only 4, but AP2 damage 2. They get the better traits of both the Howling Banshees and the Striking Scorpions.
Yep.
The strength is serviceable, the AP is serviceable, the damage is good. Is enough to one-shot a Space Marine. And they get bonus from the characters. And empower from pain. Pretty much everything of this is gonna hit, but again, is not the melee that it's scary, it's the firepower.
Right.
Dark Lens. You can have one Dark Lens in every unit, and it doesn't says I full unit. It doesn't says for every X. Yes, you must have 10 Kabbalite warriors. You cannot have less, you cannot have more. But if every single unit of them has at least one of each of these, you have an extreme versatility in firepower.
Yeah.
You have
I think
long range.
The easy access to heat lances and dark lances is like really the strength in Drukhari, and it's about making your like getting the most from your power from pain by sort of stacking those units together.
Yes.
I think Scourges is the one to look at, because you can drop like 4 dark lances into a unit, and then they have a fire and fade ability built into them, I think. So they are hard to kill if you don't have indirect fire, and they'll just keep re-rolling their hit rolls with power from pain abilities over and over and over again.
And the vehicles are completely open topped.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the
11.
Tantalus for them as well from Forge World is pretty sweet. It gives you like a unit that can embark the Court of the Archon and a Kabbalite unit.
Yes.
Into a single transport, and then you can power from pain to reroll all of them, because the transport takes all their guns.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can get some pretty efficient firepower out of it. The melee profiles are they're fine, again, I guess. They're sort of whatever. But...
Serviceable. You have some units like the witches that can be scary, but again, is this amount and versatility in firepower.
Yep.
Also, you have some nice ranges. If the Dark Lance is 36 and is again a better last cannon, you have the Splinter Cannon when you really need to ruin some infantry days. And also you have a lot of extra anti-vehicle 4 plus devastating wound on the Haywire Blaster.
Yeah.
It's 3 mortal wound, pretty much no question asked. Okay, yes, you can have one of these in a unit of Scourge, but you can also have one in the Kabbalites, one in, I bet, someone else, and again... Okay, I can find it.
I think Scourges can stack the same weapon? Can they, or are they limited to one?
Save to darkness, dark angels. No, non dark angels.
Yeah, they can. You can just take whatever combination of weapons you want. So you're usually like 4 heat lances or 4 dark lances, I think, in that unit.
You can take
and then
everything.
It's a unit of 5. If you have the direct fire, they can deep strike, and then they can run behind cover. Especially because they can fire and fade.
Yes.
After deep striking now, which you couldn't do in 9th edition.
Drukhari.
So yeah, I think that's like largely the game plan.
120 points. Pricey for the amount of punishment they can take, but the amount of punishment they can dish out is amazing.
Yeah.
Also, again, Kabbalite warriors are battle line, so you can have 6 of them, and
right.
720 points is not that much. It is reasonable, considering that you still need them to take points, and you can put them into a raider that is also have his own dark lance, or even better, a disintegrator cannon. And this advance automatically 6, so pretty much it has a 20-inch move whenever you want or you need, and deep strikes, and everything inside the shoot. Okay.
Yeah, and then
it has
the benefit there too is that
profile, but I bet there are shenanigans to save it.
Right.
And again, one other thing. Out of moment is against one target. Power from pain is 1 unit, and against any target you can easily split fire.
Yeah. And also with the firing deck too, you only have to spend the power from pain token on the transport, because then it gets the reroll off of all the embarked weapons as well.
Yes.
So, and then you have Chronos that can regenerate your power from pain token. So, like, I think generally speaking, like the entire army is basically rerolling all rolls all the time. It's probably functionally how it's going to work, which is very good.
They get too much. I would have changed. You could get. I would have made. You have. You use the power token. You get maybe +1 to hit and to wound. That would have been very strong, but it would not been automatic. No, that would have been very worst.
I do think wounding is going to be the problem for them. They're not great at like cracking high toughness in melee, and then their ranged weapons basically cap out at like strength 12 or so.
That is
so.
True.
Once you start trying to blow up a knight, you start running into some problems, I think. But you're just hoping that mass dark lances can kill it.
The point is, against knights, against monoliths, against this high toughness value, you simply have that many dark lances, that many high level firepower, that you are on a certain point you pretty much don't care. Because when I can drop like 8 dark lances in 1000 points of models, your everything dies sooner or later, if not in 1 in 2 turns. I've seen a battle report, very good, Necrons versus Dark Eldar, and while I have to admit the Necron player failed every single saves, but they successfully shoot off a monolith in 1 turn, with 2 units of Scourges and a Rider and a couple Kabbalites. Again, massive amount of unluck from the Necron players, but still, they could have easily put it to down to wounded state.
Yeah.
If only because the D6 damage really adds up.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, they wound rarely, They have difficult to wound, but when they wound, they hurt. They hurt a lot, and they can keep getting these pain tokens. That again, the best use is generally the reroll to hit. But if need arise, you can also reroll the advance and the charge. You have these big units, melee units, witches of incubi that arrive in deep strike. For whatever reason, you reroll the charge. Okay, it's a 9 in charge, but you can reroll it. And then you use a power token, pain token, for full reroll.
Yep.
And you get pain tokens every time a unit is destroyed or anytime they file a battle shock test. So they are not even that hard to come by.
And you if you stack Cronus, you can
farm them very easily.
Buy multiple chances to regenerate pain tokens as well. So you can actually gain more pain tokens than you spend over the course of a turn.
Yes, you usually you start with 6 because you start as a strike force at 2,000 points, 3 standard, 3 because of rest space raiders. You're always gonna have all 3 of them because all 3 are good, and all 3 give good rules. The Archon gives reroll wound of 1.
Yeah.
Anytime they attack. And they have the Vect.
Right.
Of course, they are Dark Eldar. They Vect. But again, choosing a stratagem and saying from that moment on you pay 1 extra to use that is very limiting in this day and age.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It can go with the Kabbalite warriors. So again, Dark Lances, okay, I reroll to wound. And it goes with the Court of the Archon, that again, the Court of the Archon can be taken in any unit, even if you have an Archon. So you have the Kabbalite, you have the Court, and the Archon all in the same at the same time. In the same unit. You have one massive unit that can do 1 gajillion different things, and you have to spend 1, maybe 2 pain tokens on it to get everything.
Yeah.
You have 15 models that can do whatever the hell you want or need. And okay, the Court of the Archon, they seems more geared to good melee, but still they have some shooting. And having good melee means only that if the enemies get close, they are still at danger. The Succubi. Succubi. Demunculus. Feel no pain for plus.
Yeah.
To his unit, including himself. Okay, he goes only with Vrax, but Vrax are tanky-ish. Also, it has an aura of -1 to battleship test. This rule is amazing against characters because precision, anti-infrared 2+, D3 damage. Because it's 5 attacks. 5 attacks at 2+. These are pretty much 5 D3 saves he have to make. And then we have the Succubi. If I can find her. Here, Succubus. Storm of Blades. While this model is leading a unit, melee weapons have sustained hits 1. And modeling this unit have the fight first ability if this model is empowered. So you can spend a pain tokens to give them fight first.
Yeah.
And the witches, as I said, they are not exactly pushovers. 3 attacks, AP1, damage 1, okay, string 3. But again, fight first, sustain hits 1. These blend infantry, gaunts, guardsmen, even orcs. They blend. These are blenders of blobs of infantry, and they have enough attacks that against small elite units they can still do their job. And if you get to the point cost, the Archon is 85, the Homunculus is 75, and the Succubus is 70. All of them combined, they are 140, 150, is 210 points. All 3 of them. Even if you do not buy the Vrax for the Homunculus or the Witches for the Succubus, it's nothing. It's an amount of point that you can easily decide to invest. Considering
it's
how much
they're reasonably costed for sure, which is useful.
Yes, and again, Vrax 5, that is the minimum, is 65 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like an Homunculus with 5 Vrax, the bare minimum are 140 points. I feel like it's a fair investment for 1 extra pain token turn 1.
Yeah.
The witches that already cost more because they are stuck at 10 models. But again, 110 is reasonable, and they are serviceable in their niche. They are more than is barely an investment. I don't see a reason why someone should not invest this like 300 points. Is nothing. Also, where is the Kronos? Kronos. Is the Kronos or the Talons?
The Talos has the Heat Lances. The Kronos is the support one.
Okay. Again, 50 points each, and you can have in squad of 2. For 100 points, you can field a lot of them. You can field 6 of them with...
Yeah, those guys are pretty cool at sort of delivering your Heat Lances with pain tokens, the Talos specifically.
Yes,
they're a little expensive, but
they're a little expensive, but again, they are not exactly easy to kill. For what they cost, because that is the Talos, but the Kronos I bet is gonna have the exact same profile. Toughness 7 and 3+ armor with what was I lost my mouse. Oh my god, my mouse has become invisible. I can see my cursor. Hola. Porca la miseria.
I do have to, just an FYI, I do have to take off in about 15 minutes.
So, what? I didn't hear you, sorry.
Yeah, I do have to take off in about 15 minutes.
A little break?
Yeah, I have another stream scheduled.
Okay.
4, so about 15 minutes from now.
And I lost my cursor, so. But still,
yeah, I don't see it.
This
there
at the
it
very
is.
I can see it now. Here it is. But at the very least, we may take we yeah, this is gonna be a long work to rate and evaluate all of the armies. Let's finish this fast. We might even decide to resume this work on another date.
Hmm.
So, fluffiness, they feel very fluffy. They get
Yeah.
power from hurting you. They are extremely, they must move constantly to save themselves. They, I believe an 8 or a 9 at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing that is really cool about the power from pain tokens is that you, in order to like continuously get them, you have to keep killing people, right? Because otherwise
You
you'll
have
spend
to
out of them.
keep getting
So
aggressive.
you're incentivized to prey on the weakest
Exactly.
units in your opponent's army in order to continuously gain the tokens. And I think that's like that's just like such a good example of like a good emergent mechanic that just like reinforces
Yes,
the background.
exactly.
I think it's just awesome.
Is an amazing codex. All the
Yeah.
mechanics of the game of the and the rules work together
Right.
for a common goal. This, of course, limit the versatility. I would say a
Yeah.
4 because, again, you have to work in a certain way. But again, if you play Dark Eldar, it's because you like the way they play.
Yeah.
Combo, again, I dare to say a 10. The characters work well with each other. They have some amazing support units that support the entire army in a spectacular way. I dare to say, if not a 10, a 9.
Right.
Shenanigans, not that much.
But definitely not as much as regular Eldar.
They can do some funny stuff, but I dare to say a 5.
Yeah.
Pretty regular, nothing special. Mobility is an automatic 10. It's Dark Eldar. They are even faster than the regular Eldar. Melee, again, a 5. Serviceable, useful, but not the focal point of the army.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a little bit of a shame. Because
Yeah.
I believe the Dark Eldar specifically should have a scarier melee fight than regular Eldar. And
Yeah,
tabel cover,
definitely feels like they suffer a lot from the sort of general reduction in melee power. And the
yes,
factions that were all about like attacking you with these little tiny melee attacks really got kind of I guess sort of whatever the opposite of like power creep is, you know. They got hit harder by a reduction in
yes,
power.
and the reduction of AP. I remember
Yeah.
the witch weapons being at least AP2. They were
Yeah, and
one
they had
scarier.
Blade Artists last edition faction wide, so everything got extra AP on critical health, critical wounds, which they don't do anymore.
Mm,
So yeah, they're gonna struggle punching through armor with
yes.
their melee attacks. Not at range though.
No,
So
no, and at range uh, they're gonna punch through your opponent.
yeah,
And table coverage, I would say 6. They can field more than the regular Eldar, of course, but it's
yeah,
not like they can and probably will field a lot of units because of how their rules work, but they don't feel like they feel
yeah. They're not like horde army
yes,
for
they
sure.
feel less elite than the Eldar, maybe.
Yeah,
Even in lore they can afford to die because the homunculus can resurrect them,
right.
but they surely can field more.
Yeah,
Even their units are, with the exception of the super heavies like the Bright Lord that the Dark Eldar miss, they have equally impressive units than
yeah.
the Eldar. Okay, yeah. We need a Dark Eldar icon here.
Oh yeah, let me get in there.
I'm gonna let you. You're tasked with the icons.
I'm the icon guy. That's me.
That means that your friend gets +1 to wound.
Yeah, there you go. I give you +1 objective secured now.
Ah, yeah.
Or objective control.
+1 objective control is is an amazing rule.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the good banner ability for sure.
Okay. You said that you have to go. And
I do in a couple minutes. We could
Yes.
speed run one more if we want to.
No, it's they deserve to be talked. We're gonna keep with the Eldari and no, there are no Harlequins anymore, so we need
Yeah,
to.
no, they're part of Eldar.
Next time we can start with the Necrons, one of the one that I prefer,
There you
and
go.
we will decide how to and when to keep working on this, and maybe we can jump in for a game on tabletop simulator one sooner or later. Maybe
Oh yeah, for
to
sure.
try to discuss and some of this directly in game.
Yeah.
And okay, see ya next time. See ya to everyone on the other side of the Atlantic. E per tutti quelli che sono da questo lato dell'Atlantico, noi ci rivediamo nel prossimo stream, prossimo video, quello che ci sarà. Salve a tutti.
Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, this is fun.
Oh, it was a pleasure. A pleasure 1 month in the making.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice to have the edition fully out. So
Yes. Okay.
good to start getting models too.
Yes. We Tyranids are gonna hit very well soon. Very soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Time to close.